So, it is ADHD Awareness Month, and I thought that I would talk about a symptom of ADHD that I definitely struggle with. And so, if you want to see that, stick around. But first, hi, I'm Farron. I use it in pronouns, and I am so excited for today's video. My social media is in the description box down below, and give me a follow. I also have a second channel that is more doll focused, so if you want to see those videos, the channel's also linked in the description box. I do want to put a disclaimer on today's video. I have not been formally diagnosed with ADHD. I relate to the symptoms of ADHD, and I've done a ton of research on ADHD, but I'm not a doctor. I'm only explaining my experience as a person who deals with time blindness and how it affects me. And it is different from person to person. And if you experience time blindness, that doesn't necessarily mean you have ADHD. I'm not going to be diagnosing anyone. Just talking about my personal experience with time blindness and as someone who has ADHD. And let's just get into today's video. Now, I'm going to leave a link to the articles that I use in the description if you want to go read them yourself. I'm not going to read the full article. I'm just going to use highlight points for the topic and discuss my thoughts. So, first we need to figure out what is time blindness. Time blindness refers to the inability to recognize when time has passed or to estimate how long something will take. Dr. Mano says time blindness isn't a diagnosis or a specific symptom, it's more just a general way of talking about the phenomenon of losing track of time. And Dr. Manos also says, everyone has time blindness at times. We can all get caught up in something and get in the zone. Some people with ADHD, though, are more prone to having difficulty being able to judge how long something will take to do or lose track of time. Then it goes on to say, how does time blindness happen? Our brains constantly shift between two types of attention depending on the situation. They're called automatic attention and directed attention. Automatic attention responds to a network in your brain called the default mode. It's your happy place. It's what you use when you're doing something you find interesting. Directed attention is what we use when we're engaging in things we have to do, but don't necessarily want to do. That can include things like listening to a particular dry lecture at school or filing your taxes. When you're experiencing time blindness, it's because you're running on automatic attention. Dr. Manos explains, you're into something and you're excited about it, so you're not noticing the time. No one likes to use directed attention. It's a drag and it takes a whole lot of effort to maintain. People with ADHD tend to have a very strong automatic attention. When they are doing something they like, they can more easily go deep into hyperfocus. But their brains generally find it more difficult to use directed attention, so many people with ADHD will actively avoid situations where they need to use directed attention because it's hard to use. In another article talking about time blindness and ADHD, it says a very common, also annoying and distressing element of ADHD is time blindness. Adults with ADHD often have a weaker perception of time, and it has been proposed that this symptom is a possible diagnostic characteristic. Time blindness can mean you're always late or always way too early to avoid being late. It can also lead to poor estimates of how long a job will take, leading to overpromising. Studies on time perception and its evaluation have shown that not only do adults with ADHD have difficulties in estimating time, they may also have the feeling that time is passing by without them being able to complete tasks accurately and well. Examples of how time blindness can manifest include over or underestimating how much time has passed, not knowing how long a task will take, and not knowing which of two activities will take or did take longest. The article then goes into discussing processing speed, which refers to the pace at which you're able to perceive information. Both children and adolescents with ADHD have significantly slower processing speeds, which means that people with ADHD might be slower than normal at tasks they are less interested in, even if they know how long it would take for someone else. The term time blindness was actually coined specifically for ADHD young adults in 2001 paper, which is, I'm guessing, hyperlinked on the article. So now that we've read those or parts of those two articles, I do want to talk about my own experience with time blindness. I have not had these things like solved. I'm just talking about how I currently view time as someone who has not had coaching or any medication to help alleviate some of my ADHD symptoms. I have no concept of time, like none whatsoever. I don't know what a minute feels like. I don't know what 10 minutes feels like. I certainly don't know what an hour feels like. Even like going to work and I'm there for 3 hours, the first hour and a half feels like it's been 3 hours, and it hasn't. I mean, at least 3 hours. Again, because no concept of time. I don't know what it feels like, even though I've experienced it multiple times for like a year. What 3 hours is, that doesn't mean that I know what it feels like. And I watched a TikTok back in 2020 or 2021. I can't remember what year, but I think it was 2020. And it was an ADHD like experiment to see like how long do you think a minute actually is versus what it feels like. What actually, I'm not explaining that right, but in this experiment you use your phone stopwatch and you start it and you close your eyes, and then you stop it when you feel like a minute has passed. I think my time was about 20 seconds. My thought process during those 20 seconds, I had one stream of thought going. Can't remember what I was thinking about, but I had like one going. But I was also always thinking, has it been a minute yet? Maybe. It feels like a minute has passed. Maybe I'll wait a little bit longer. It has to have been a minute by now. And when I stopped the timer and opened my eyes, it had only been 20 seconds. I'm guesstimating the time. I don't know the exact time, but going with that like time is like very interesting. It's just like, oh, it's only been 20 seconds. So do other people know what a minute feels like? If a person with ADHD doing it thinks it's around 20 to 30 seconds, does a person who does not have ADHD get closer to a minute mark? I'm very curious on that. I don't know. I'm asking. But this also like brings me, actually doesn't bring me to anything. This is a totally different like scenario. I don't know why I was saying that. An experiment I did back in high school, that was like 10 years ago. It's AP Stats, and we had the task of reading 2 books for a certain amount of time. It was to see how long it takes for your thoughts to change from the book that you're currently reading to something else popping into your head. And you do it with 2 different books, a book of interest and a book of non-interest, which I think kind of goes into what the first article was talking about with automatic attention and directional attention. The book that you're not interested in reading, which is like a textbook, is the directional one, and the book for their fun read is the automatic. And when I'm reading and it's just like reading and this like focusing on the book, with the automatic time, it was like 2 minutes before I had like a random thought pop into my head, versus with the textbook, and this textbook had no pictures in it. It was like a history book. And I mean, there probably was like a picture or two, but the pages that I was reading did not have pictures. And I lasted 20 seconds before a random thought popped into my head, and really just goes to show like the whole like having a harder time focusing on directional attention, going along with the article. And I found that to be, like, thinking about it now, because back when I was 15 I thought I had ADHD, and AP stats, I was 17, so that was 2 years later when I'd already like forgotten that I said I had ADHD. And I was just doing this experiment. And this experiment, I don't know why we were doing this particular experiment in AP stats. Probably some statistical reason. I can't remember. I just remembered that experiment because it just really showed my interest in how my brain worked. And so it was just like, that article was talking about like how people with ADHD have a harder time with directional attention. And I was just like, you know what? That's accurate. Because in my brain, while I was reading for 20 seconds, I'm already thinking 20 seconds is a minute. I'm thinking I've gone like a minute reading. And there's no pictures. It's just like a block of text, and there's it's tiny text. And I'm just like reading all of that. It's probably about a paragraph. And it's just like, and then a random thought pops in versus 2 minutes. And I don't know how many pages that was, but I was able to, I think it's probably 2 pages, like 2 book pages, because I think once the flip happens, a thought pops in, like a random thought pops in, like during the page flip. And just, it's not, my attention span's not long, because 2 minutes while reading and a random thought popping into my head, just wow. But also in my head, it's been more than 2 minutes. If 20 seconds is a minute for me, it has to have been at least, in my head, like 5-10 minutes. And also, like, in today's time, like 2023, another random story. None of these stories connect, and I don't know how to transition into the next story, so I apologize for that. But getting ready for work, I have, not only do I have a bunch of alarms going off on different devices, but I also like have one that I snooze, so I'm just like, aware of what time has passed, because I don't have any concept of it. I have one like 8:10 because I had to be at work at 9, and I'm already up because I had to get my sister out the door for the school at 8:10. Okay, I have to make sure that the dogs are fed and put away. They went to the bathroom. I have all my stuff for work, and doing all of that between like 8:10, because this is like based off of last year's time, 8:10 to 8:19. So 8:19, I need to think about getting into the car. And by 8:28, because the snooze, it does it every 9 minutes, 8:28, I need to be like down the road. My job's 20 minutes away without traffic. It's 20 minutes away on back roads. There's no stoplights. I think there's like technically 1 or 2 depending on which direction you go. And I'm like preparing at 8:10, because in reality I could leave like 8:30 or 8:38 at the latest and be at work on time. I'm usually 15 minutes early to work because I'm just planning like because I have no concept, and I'm just like, I need to make sure. Plus also like counting in like traffic or like the buses or like road work, making sure that I have like a giant cushion of time before I'm late for work, so that I'm not late. And I'm always 15 minutes early, or I should say usually. Sometimes it's like 12 minutes which isn't like a big difference, but sometimes it is like, or I'll get there between like 8:44 to 8:48 in that time span, depending on, you know, traffic and what time I actually get in the car and stuff. But I always try to make sure I'm in the car and we're down the road by like 8:28. Also, like, the reason why I know it's 20 minutes is because of the GPS. And the GPS in my mom's car has like the time in the corner, and then at the bottom it tells you what time you're due to arrive, and it's 20 minutes. And so I'm constantly, I have like the watch alarm going off every 9 minutes, and I'm checking it when it goes off. It's like, oh, okay. I look at the watch, look at the time that it says we're going to be at work, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to be fine. I hit snooze until I'm at work. I hit snooze until I'm in the building, or I'm at the building, just to make sure that I don't like stop it and it's just like something happens and I'm just like not aware of the time. And if I don't have the GPS going, I'm just like, and I turn the alarm off for some reason, which I usually never do, but sometimes I accidentally hit off. I'm checking it more often because I'm just like, it has to have been 20 minutes. I'm late for work, and my thoughts are just going down this rabbit hole if I'm late, if I don't check it. This is like totally a little slightly off topic, that I wake up often, like 5, 6, 7, just thinking that I overslept and I still have so much time to sleep. So I will wake up at 5 o'clock thinking I'm late. I wake up at 6 o'clock thinking I'm late. And it's not 5 o'clock on the dot, 6 o'clock on the dot, 7 o'clock on the dot. There is like 5:15, 6:17, 7:09, stuff like that. But it's each hour I've checked to see if I'm late. And Lexi goes off at 7:32. I hit snooze. I say snooze for 5 minutes, and I get out of bed at 7:37, so we can be out the door at 7:40. I had to be very technical with the timing, but that's what I've had to do just to make sure that I am aware of the time, because I won't feel it. Because I have no concept of time, I need to make sure that I have something to keep track of what time it is, so that I'm not late for stuff. Usually early, like the beginning of the year. Like, we missed the bus the first day because we didn't know what time the bus was coming or what bus number it was. But once we found out the bus comes early, like, we get out 7:40, and we're like the first people there, just to make sure that we don't miss the bus. I haven't talked about like how I lose track of time, but anytime I'm reading and I'm like really like not talking about like how a thought process in my head, because when I'm reading something I'm interested in, I'm going to be thinking about stuff either related or slightly off topic, but kind of something stemmed from that and going off. I can get lost in like what time it is, getting lost in a book, and then it's like, oh, it's 10 o'clock in the morning and I haven't gone to sleep. That happened a lot. I will stay up if a book is good. I will stay up just trying to finish it, and then realize it's 10 o'clock in the morning. I haven't been to sleep, and I'm like, I'm not gonna finish it right now, obviously. I'm gonna go to sleep because I need to go to bed. And that was mostly like high school and like the summer or like the weekends. I have alarms, or like my lights go off at certain times, so I like know, okay, it's 3 a.m. lights off, so I can start thinking about going to sleep. I don't know, this is very interesting, I don't know if my time blindness affects my whole like sleeping. My whole like sleep schedule is off by a few hours. It's very rare actually that I'm actually doing that. Go to bed before 2. It's usually 3 or 4 when I'm actually like going to sleep. And I was just like, is it because I have no concept of time that affects my whole like internal clock? Because the internal clock is broken. Because this is a very interesting concept that I was just now thinking of. Just like, I have no concept of time. And then when it's time for bed, it doesn't feel like time. Like, it's time for bed. Even if I'm like tired from working, I'm not sleepy. You can be tired and not sleepy. Like, oh, I've been up all day working and just like not sleepy. Like, I could fall asleep right now. That's why I had to like set, like, we have these little plugs that control the lights, and we can set timers for them. And mine, I usually have going off at 3 a.m. It's like, hey, lights going off. My phone, I have like certain apps turn off at 3 a.m. so that I'm not on them all night, and I can like go to sleep. 3 a.m., everything shuts down. You gotta go to sleep. You gotta get up. You go to work or like get your sister ready for school. But that was very interesting. I don't know if people have, like, there should be a study put on that, like the delayed sleep phase and time blindness. I feel like there could possibly be a connection. I'm not sure. Again, not a doctor, not an expert, just talking about my own experience as someone who possibly experiences both. That's very interesting. I went a little off topic by including sleep disorders into the time blindness and ADHD discussion, but I think sleeping is possibly affected by time blindness. I will also say, I want to ask actually, would you consider needing to go to sleep, especially at a certain time, to be a directional attention sort of task or an automatic attention task? I personally, especially if you have to go to work the next day at a certain time, have to be up at a certain time, that it could, at least in part, be a directional attention task. And that is why, I'm not going to say everyone, people with ADHD have a challenge focusing on tasks like going to sleep. I'm not a doctor. I'm just throwing out things at a dartboard and seeing if it sticks. I don't know, but I feel, for me personally, that it is true that it's a directional attention task. Because, especially for this one instance where I knew I had to go to sleep, I knew I had to get up early, and I was like, okay, getting off of the devices, just gonna close my eyes and go to sleep, and my brain just wouldn't turn off, and it was closer to 5 o'clock before I actually was able to go to sleep, because focusing on going to sleep at that time was very challenging. And it's happened more than once, but one most recently happened and I had to get up at like 7 or 8 to go to work. I think that was literally a couple Saturdays ago. Like, I have to get up and be at work all day. Go to sleep, please. And my brain was like, no, I'm not finished. And so, a little off topic, but I feel like it kind of relates to it. But let me know your thoughts on time blindness and how it affects you, and also if you think your time blindness affects your sleeping schedule. I'm very curious. I want to know, because I'm just like, I feel like it affects me, but that could be a whole list of other things going on that's totally unrelated that could be affecting me as well. But that is all for today's video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to be notified when I upload next, and until next time, bye!